The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSRTV, your home for sim racing. Live tonight from the Daytona International Speedway, LSRTV is happy to say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the final race on Season 15 of the Superspeedway Cup Series on your home for sim racing and iRacing Live. As we welcome you to the World Center of Racing for tonight's finale in Florida 400, the annual season finale of the Superspeedway Cup Series, where a champion is to be determined at about 250 miles from now. As we welcome you topside into the LSRTV booth, as always, myself, Evan Pasoko, alongside with Rachel Whiteford and our producer, Cisco Scaramuza, downstairs. And Rachel, it is the last race on the year, and kind of the way everything ends up working out, one of the longest races on the year, because tonight not constricted by the time limits that we have seen for the better part of the season. We've got 100 laps, 250 miles, and it will be that distance to determine a champion.
So it will be, Evan, and good evening, everybody. This race is the finale. It is the big one, and this is one race to define a champion. I think this is going to be an amazing race tonight, Evan. These guys know it's all on the line. There is nothing more to play for. It is all in for the glory.
And it has been a steep elimination curve in this version of the playoffs, but let's take a look at where we sit coming into tonight. Just a reminder for those who maybe, missed a little bit during the regular season. We cut everything down in the championship a couple of weeks ago when we went on the first of this 6-race championship run. We cut the field down of eligible drivers to a relatively, I think, fair number of 14, and then we sent more than half of them home. Only 6 drivers made it to this 3-race battle for the championship, and coming into tonight, Seth the Merchant sits at the top of the pile. His 3,213 points most out of active playoff drivers. It gives him a 16-point advantage over top of Chris Pacini, and a 17-point advantage over Rodney Wofford, who enters tonight third in the points. Michael Cozy Jr. still there, 24 points back. Rod Flag out of it, 45 back. And Brandon Cruz Monsiváis out of it at 71 points back. But that gap between first and then second and third, Rachel, tightened up as of a week ago when we saw Rodney Wofford take home his 22nd career win. So Pacini and Wofford are very much in striking distance.
They really are, and it's going to make this a very, very interesting run to the final checkered flag of the season. Right now, Rodney Wofford once again on pole provisionally right now, and looks like that will stay. He's always had the fastest laps here, and he's impressive. But Rod Flag, look at that, up on the 964, 1,000th behind Wofford. It's really close up at the sharp end, and there's a lot of these guys who are the final playoff characters who are really in a position here to have a big shot at this thing, and I think this race could really be one of the best we have this year, never mind this season.
And something else that we've been, somewhat talking about over the last couple of weeks as the playoffs have started is some lower car counts for the drivers who, either didn't make the playoffs at all, or drivers who were eliminated, really didn't see they had anything to fight for, not showed up, and had about 20 to 25 cars at average, which is still a healthy field size, back up towards 30. I think more than 30 cars going to be on track tonight, so we are back to those big fields. Obviously, that is going to be a factor at a place like Daytona International Speedway, where the racetrack itself is much thinner than a place like Talladega. So real estate going to be something that these drivers are fighting for. And again, the way this playoff works out, it's not a final round winner take all. It is this best of 3 to determine our champion. But we also still have stage racing. That's going to be a factor at lap number 50. Halfway through this race, we will have a stage break and bonus points to be dished out then. You talk about up to 10 points up for grabs at the halfway marker. That could get the championship difference down to single digits before we even have to worry about coming down pit road for the final time on the evening. So that most definitely is going to be a very critical part of this race as well.
It always is a major impact, of course, as qualifying, I think, has just run itself down. We have our final numbers, and yeah, the stage will make a big difference. I mean, we see how hard they push to the end of the stages, and even now, that 1 point or the point difference you'll get there for that stage win could actually change the win in how this thing goes. It all depends on how this plays out.
There's no doubt this field is going to get jumbled up plenty as the night goes on, but let's take a look at how they will start this evening from the Daytona International Speedway and go trackside and take a look at tonight's LSRTV starting grid. Pole position to this one to the 17-point hopeful in Rodney Wofford. Pole position with a 47.963, just beating out Rod Flag by 1/1000 to get pole, and it'll put the number 10 flag to the outside of the front row in P2. Right now with the second, going to start tonight in third position with Chris Passini rolling off from P4 and Michael Cozy Jr. The long shot on the mathematics into tonight, 24 points back, will start top 5.
Outside of that third row, it's going to be Jason Altman's back here again tonight, and behind them, fourth row, Seth Merchant and Victor Bartlett, with the fifth row being Glenn Hedrick and Joseph Junkins.
Spencer Preet is going to end up at against on row 6. He'll start 11th position this evening with Gary Champion alongside him in 12. Scott Warren gets the unlucky 13 starting spot tonight. Richard Reagan Jr. will end up 14th position, an exact identical lap time with his partner on row number 7. And then behind them, 15th spot is Dan Harrington.
16th spot tonight, Justin Levine with Mike Schultz in the 17th spot, Jimmy Coleman and Ramon Evans there, Chris Patton in the 20th spot, last car qualifying.
And then to kick off the drivers who qualified based on provisionals, 21st position tonight goes to Kyle Manger. You've also got Corey Smith, 22nd. Robbie Lyons is going to be 23rd position. Brandon Cruz Monsivais is a championship driver, but way out of the picture in this one just to end the season on a high note. We'll start 24th, and Ricky Wall is P25.
26th place tonight. We have a full grid on this one, actually. Lucas Cram with Joseph Dewisha in 27th place. We also have Joseph Gorridge in the 28th spot with Travis Brown and Joey Picolela. Picolela? That's a good name. I like that.
A lot of these guys from the DXT series joining us this evening, and then just to round out the field to 34 cars, 31st position tonight goes to Ike Thiel. Kevin Spencer will start 32nd, John Johnson 33rd, and Raymond Lees in 34th position. We all know about this Daytona International Speedway at 2.5 miles in distance means that we are going to race 250 miles total between the drop of the green and the drop of the checkered flag. But seeing as it is championship night, let's run through your series champions. Way back when in season 1, Andrew Berger was the first ever champion at the Superspeedway Cup Series. Marcus Lambert won it in season 2. Andrew Berger took home his second championship. In season 3, Victor Bartlett took season 4, and then incomplete through season 5 led to the rebranding under the Superspeedway title. Frank Basilia season 6, Brandon Chiperko season 7, Rod Flag season 8, Josh Ball season 9, Seth the Merchant season 10, and Andrew Berger third title in season 11. Back under the Superspeedway Cup banner for season 12, Seth the Merchant took his second championship. Andrew Berger took his fourth in season 13. Corey Henry took it home last year in season 14, and we are about to decide your season 15 champion right here and right now at LSRTV and our Racing Live. Green flag in the air for the finale in Florida 400. Here we go. Ronnie Wofford leads to turn 1.
It's a fairly disheveled front row there as Altmans dives down behind him from the outside, sitting in there behind Cozy Jr. He's had a fantastic season so far, actually. Evan Cozy Jr. has to be one of my standout drivers this season. Regardless of the result tonight, he has actually come on leaps and bounds in this series and really shown some teeth. Outside lane there with Flag is dropping back a little bit. Bassini and the 21 car just not quite as far up as they were, but, well, this is it's already shaping up to be quite an aggressive start.
And Cozy, I think it's hard to argue against the case that he would be the top rookie driver in this series, considering, you know, he's in the top 6, along with some of the series' most veteran drivers. He doesn't want to sit around, though, at all. He'll go right topside. Wofford will lead the first 2.5 miles of this race, but Cozy jumping up in front of the Tenorod Flag, who got an okay start, I would say, all things considered. The outside of the racetrack typically struggles a little bit just trying to get up to speed, and Cozy not able to mount the charge in 1 and 2, but pretty much there, keeping things nice and tight up front.
Yeah, they certainly are. And I've got to say, Cozy looks hungry in this race tonight. He's really pushing forwards, and it's an impressive sight to see.
But when you consider the fact that, yes, I think Flag 45 points back is out of it. Monsivais 71 points back, most definitely out of it. Cozy's still kind of there at that 24-point deficit, but he needs a really good night. He's going to need to come out here, lead laps, get bonus points for that, win a stage, you get the bonus points for that, win the race, you get all the points for that, and maybe put himself in a position to try to upset what is a pretty mounting deficit coming into this evening. And he is there, but again, the outside line of the racetrack, unless you're really working with a big spurt of speed at a run, it's difficult to get that little bit extra. And that 50 to Jason Altmans, who actually started this race outside row 3, very quickly found himself on the back bumper of Polson Rodney Watford, has been doing a good job of pushing him in that light blue of the 51 Sirius XM Ford. Pretty hard to lose that car on the racetrack, and big part of why the 77 hasn't been able to mount the charge for the race lead is because it's been a good draft line in behind your leader, and even in behind Altmans. That 57 to Seth the Merchant, he's done this thing once or twice, 2-time champ.
Yeah, he really has, and it's definitely possible. I mean, our top 4 here are pretty spread out. We need some special circumstances for the likes of Cozy Jr. to take this one tonight, but regardless, he's going to see himself very well in what is his rookie season. Like you say, he's shown an impressive performance so far, and I mean, money's got to be with De Merchant and Wofford. Those two are looking strong, but I don't know, De Merchant's looking a little fluttery tonight.
And he's in line. He's got the 72 of Spencer Preet. I think it would be neglected to not talk about, Preet in that conversation with rookies. Seeing the 77, spent a bunch of the season working together. Preet was not able, though, to get the results that Cozy was able to snag this season, and it failed to qualify even for the round of 14 from earlier on this year. Victor Bartlett, series veteran, back with us this season. He's right back there tucked in line, a past champion from season 4 of the Superspeedway Cup Series, a part of tonight's season finale festivities. And one thing that I don't think should get overlooked when we talk about championship and seasons and all of that, it was a very big point of focus a week ago, was the fact that we are still on this new build. Yes, they've had about a week and a half now to play with it, but you're talking about a week and a half on a new build compared to 20 some odd weeks of this season being run on the old build, if you count some of those breaks within the first 17 races of the season on the different draft models. So I still think it's a learning process, and these guys are going to attack it full on when season 16 starts on the other side of the New Year break. But at the moment, I think still a little bit of R&D in that aspect.
Absolutely, and what we saw last time out, of course, was really the first week we had a race with this new pack, of course, and this new draft model and the vehicle kind of rules, is that the tires matter more now, but you are able to take 2 and actually drive better with 2 tires than you used to be. That's actually a thing now outside of Superspeedways. What it means here is we're seeing some no tire calls. It's possible. The fuel range has actually dropped a tiny bit. The cars are a little bit less aerodynamic, Evan, which means they are using a bit more fuel. Makes it a bit more dicey. We've seen a few more guys run out last time than we would have seen previously, so they have to really keep an eye on that gas now. It's a huge impact in the race.
It definitely plays a big factor in the strategy of this race, talking about the fact that, well, yes, this race is 100 laps. Our stage is still at 50, which is something that we're very well acquainted with over the course of the season, although in most regular season races, that marked a little bit past the halfway point doesn't take away from the fact that you will be struggling to be able to get to that stage break without having to come down pit road twice. And if this race were to stay green for that length of time, would definitely kind of force these drivers into a pretty critical decision on what kind of play they want to make down to the pit lane under green flag conditions. Some movement back on the third and fourth rows here with the last couple of times around. It is exchanged hands. The leader of the outside line now to Victor Bartlett, who made a move bottom to top, and he would now go top to bottom. Doesn't see any momentum up there and tucks back down in line. That leaves Spencer Preet as the leader up on the outside of the racetrack, and he's got the 77 to cozy down with him. So those two rookies sticking together, and the one of Chris Bassini tucked in line as well.
Interesting move by some of these drivers just dropping back out of the action here, which perhaps says something about what they think's about to happen. I think we might see an early wreck in this one, Evan. We've had some pretty clean early runs, but like you say, you know, everyone's still testing out how these cars operate in these first runs, and well, I think the patience might get the better of them soon, because there's a number of drivers up here who perhaps can push issues. One of those being the 21 car, who, well, could get involved in this thing if he tries, but I don't know. Hedrick, he's been pushing pretty hard. I just don't know yet. It's becoming quite an active one here.
And he's right tucked in line behind the 76. You can see the inside line check up pretty hard that time into quarter number 3. I think over the course of what is going to be, compared to the average this year, a pretty long race. Once upon a time, nearly a season ago, this was the average race length at 100 laps, 250 miles at Daytona before we really had to worry about that 100-minute time clock being a factor. The shorter races this year, I think, have been a little bit more exciting top to bottom, just because you've had a little bit less opportunity to play around with things. But because of this new draft and the fact that we're talking about a little bit of a longer race, it's much more difficult to complete passes with this new build. You see the 72, he's doing a very good job, hooked up with the 77 and the 1, but that movement, just exactly like it is on the rear world side of things, is a little bit more time consuming, and that can maybe rustle some feathers and get some guys frustrated. And if you're impatient in a place like this, there's plenty of opportunities to put yourself in an uncomfortable position to make a mistake. The question is, how disciplined will the drivers be from avoiding putting themselves in those precarious positions?
Absolutely, and that's really the integral part of this, is you've got to plan your move. You've got to think about when you try and do these things, because you put yourself in a position where you are actually competing for a championship, and well, you're racing the wrong place in these events, and it could all be taken away from you by somebody else's actions. It's almost impossible to avoid in a lot of cases. So if things looking janky, you really need to decide what your priorities are: finish the race or run in the front.
Lap car going to stick up at the outside of the racetrack. That is the 87 of Ray Rittenhour for the second. Started this race in third position on the timesheets per se. But obviously, as we noticed when we started this race, he was not up there with the group. He was down on the pit lane. He was able to get back out on track, no issues. But by being by himself, obviously nowhere near the 200-mile-an-hour speeds that we're seeing up front, he will drop off for the lead lap. He and Brandon Cruz want some advice of the two drivers who have already fallen off of the lead lap. And Gary Champion in the 18 machine, I think, is also going to drop off for the lead lap here very shortly. That car has damage. In fact, Gary Champion got into the wall, and he just lost his engine. So all by himself, Gary Champion is slow. May be the first driver to drop out of this race, but we keep our eyes up top as you saw the field blow by him there on the apron, because Spencer Preet is making a play for the race lead right there, neck and neck with Rodney Wofford, who so far tonight has been relatively uncontested.
He has, and that's kind of typical for Wofford in these events, that he goes up front, he stays there, but Preet definitely pushing hard at this point in time, and now on the outside, those guys have really got a good thing going on. There's three of them who can move with three, just enough to keep themselves in contention and cause a problem for the guys on the low side, but a couple of them already breathing for air. And that's one thing we know about Evan that's been a bigger issue this build and this aero package, is that, well, it's easy, because of the splitter designs, it's easier to get closer to the car in front now. Much easier, and now you can get through that bubble of air. You get hot fast. Before, with the bubble of air, it kept you cool, and because you couldn't get close enough. They didn't really have to think too much about cooling the cars. Now it's far too easy, and you're seeing guys having to move around, and when the top line's giving them no real room, people have to try and find any gap they can, and it can start to cause issues.
And that 72 made a nice play there, but it has since, again, kind of stalled out at about that half a car length to a car length shy. There's going to be a good effort this time down the Daytona super stretch, but again, the inside, I think, veteran drivers, I think, have spent plenty of time on the sim, but I think more specifically in the last week or so, I think they've got a pretty good idea of what they are doing, and they're doing a pretty good job at the moment of working that draft inside and out. And that's not to say that, you know, Preet, the 77 to Cozy aren't going to be able to be there, but I think there is a big difference between holding even with somebody like Rodney Wofford and clearing that person for the race lead and being able to slide down to the inside of the racetrack. But so far, I think things have been relatively clean up front. We've seen, you know, a couple of times that inside line is checked up a bit. They are nice and tight on one another, but no real big movement side to side. And if we can make it this time to 3 and 4, going to be 15 laps in the books. Still clean.
It is, and 15 laps heading towards that first of our pit stops here, and we know that to get that lap 50 competition caution, there's been 2 stops from this point, so they have to try and get through this stop nice and clean. We're talking about 21 laps now. It's about a lap less than it used to be, so 21 laps, and we should see everybody in on that point. It was pretty much even that time by. Fuel is very finite now within the limits they had, and honestly, this pack is getting a bit busy here. The outside line building up now, Evan, as we see the 76, the 87, the 46 get up there on the top and get a bit more involved in this one, as Preet's still competing for that front row as well with Wofford.
And it helps out the outside of the racetrack. Again, it's pretty difficult to stay there on a consistent basis without the strength in numbers. I'm not sure a difference of 4 or 5 cars up top is going to be drastically different than, you know, when that 6th car pulls up in line with the 47 Reagan going up to the outside of the racetrack. But nonetheless, a couple of extra cars never hurt. I think the real opportunity is that you're going to see something become a factor from the outside of the racetrack, is when we saw them sag back a couple of car lengths, and Victor Bartlett tried it, went bottom to top, and it sucks that group up right to your bumper. It gives you a big push, and you get 1 or 2 laps with the momentum's on your side, and if you can't get it, like Victor Bartlett wasn't able to, the line and the momentum dies back off, but he drops right back down to the inside of the racetrack. So Preet just needs that little bit more, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to find that little bit more at the moment. And that's not to say that, you know, if you don't pass him for the race leader, Rachel, he's in a terrible position. You're running P2 right now, and pretty comfortably, with almost a fifth of this race in the books. I don't think there's any reason why Spencer Preet is not happy with where he sits at the moment.
Oh, absolutely not. He's in a great position for this, and honestly, it's doing him very, very well, but he's just going to be cautious that he doesn't get into anything at this point, because the implications next season might be a bit heavy too.
The 72 drop off, car length and a half or so. This lead group goes all the way back to 14th position, where Kyle Banger sits in at number 25 car. He started this race back in 21st and has done a pretty good job of working his way up into the lead group. And then you've got about a second break until you get back to 15th position. Chris Pratt on back, Lucas Cram, Joseph Gorange, Mike Schultz, Jimmy Coleman and company. That second group sits from 15th position on back. So it is a pretty populous lead pack at the moment. Keep an eye on Seth the Merchant. He is clear to the outside of the racetrack if he really wants to go up. But again, you have to consider he's got a 16-point lead in the championship. I don't think there's any reason he needs to put himself at the outside line and in a compromising position where if that momentum completely falls away, which you don't expect it to happen, but you never know, in the way that these races can sometimes play out, the outside can drop back real quick. I think the Merchant also somebody who's pretty content with where he's running at the moment, all things considered. Yes, Ronnie Wofford is outrunning him. If Wofford gets the 10 bonus points, DeMerchant will get 8 as they run at the moment. It would close the championship gap down to 15 at the stage break. That's still a great position for DeMerchant.
Oh, absolutely. DeMerchant's in a great position for this, and he can afford to wait, really, towards the end of this race. In fact, all he needs to do is win. In fact, considering the points differences of some of these drivers, he could afford to be anywhere near the front and still take the championship points-wise. But he has to finish. That is the thing. He must finish this race. And look at this. You know, Passini 16 points back. I mean, if he could just finish in top 3, top 4, he's good. So for someone like Seth the Merchant, that's more than possible as caution flag flies.
And it is Kevin Spencer spinning the Liberati 6 cars into the inside fence. Issues with the driver who was running in 25th position. We'll take a look at this on the LSRTV replay. It was really not a battle between he and Mike Thiel for 24th and 25th. And Mike Thiel just got sideways on his own going into the corner, cut back up the hill. There was nowhere for the Liberati 6 machine to go. Spencer went up into the outside wall, came back down. Looks like Joey Piccolella involved in that one. And this is problems from well back in the pack to bring out the first yellow.
Yeah, it really is. And the big thing there, well, this is a perfect yellow actually, because it falls right on the fuel number, lap 21 here. So it's exactly what they need.
It will allow everybody to come down to the pit lane, kind of keep everybody on the same strategy, and then I think would set everybody up for one stop to the end of the stage. Dependent on obviously how many laps it takes for us to get back green, and if anybody wants to maybe mix things up a little bit and fight for, you know, maybe the long run game, coming in top off before the restart and out in the back of the pack and try to save. There's so many different, you know, kind of strategy plays you can take with how the stages work out. The one thing we can promise you is that everybody is going to need fuel. And Ronnie Wofford has led every lap so far through to this point in control in the front row. Needs to execute as he heads to the pit lane.
Yeah, he does indeed. And of course, pit road now is exactly where they want it, but I think everyone's going to come in now, so we're not really offsetting the timetable for this. It's just doing it under caution. But hey, restarts, and debris cautions, so we'll have to see how these guys fare further on.
And one thing I was curious is what the tires are going to be. It's going to be right sides for Ronnie Wofford, and the car is still in the box, but he is going to go with just right sides, but a very slow pit stop brings a wave. Changes for position to come it off for the pit lane. I think it might have been the 72 of Spencer Preet who decided to go with left side tires only as the second car into the pit lane. It'll be the first car out of pit road, trailed by Cozy, Champion, DeMarchant, Spencer, Eukins, and then Wofford.
Yes, it will be, and the order they come off will kind of make things a bit more difficult for Wofford especially.
Puts him about outside of row 3 or so, assuming that you know, nobody would have stayed out, which never seems to be the case in these stands, but it does look like that because this fell so blatantly on the strategy, as it would have been anyways, that everybody came down to the pit lane. Couple of drivers looking for a wave by Spencer, Champion, Weiss, and Rittenauer going through the top, but it'll put the 72 with Spencer Preet to the race lead, and the new race leader amongst the playoff drivers is still Seth DeMarchant, who will be about third on track. It's big news for him as we take a look again at the championship, because coming into tonight, Rachel, with a 16-point advantage over top of Chris Passini, and then just one additional point back to Ronnie Wofford, 17 points back in third. Those are the guys who are really in the hunt. It's 24 points back for Michael Cozy Jr., who's a little bit more of a stretch. If he wants to get in this thing, he'll need a lot of things to go his way. And then Rod Flag and Brandon Cruz-Monsivais not really in the immediate conversation. But I don't know if I could really call it a mistake, because Wofford got the 2 tires pretty easily and then just didn't leave the box. But he's going to go from first to fifth, no longer has an advantage on DeMarchant, which is big in the championship picture, because again, we're racing for bonus points at the midway break, which could be the determining factor in the points.
Yeah, it absolutely could be. And like I say, it's not on the outside for Cozy Jr. or some of the others to actually have this thing, because if things go badly wrong for some of these guys, it's entirely open. So honestly, there are so many ways this could go, and honestly, I'm kind of excited to see if anything big happens, because it will change your entire championship position. Seth DeMarchant has to think everyone's gunning for him.
Got a target on his back, both literally and figuratively. The 2-time series champion got his first title back in season 10 under the Superspeedway Cup Series banner, and then when we back to the Superspeedway Cup Series name in season 12, picked up his second. He is one of only 2 multi-time champions in this series, with his 2 compared to Andrew Berger's 4. Obviously, the only drivers that have multiple championships. You look at somebody you don't like, a Chris Passini, not there yet. You look at somebody like a Ronnie Watford, not there yet. Rod Flag does have one. Brandon Cruz-Monsivais, not there yet. So a heavy favorite in the statistical column all time for the 57 to be able to get a third career championship if he's able to secure it and wrap this deal out tonight. And he will restart in third. Maybe that's a good memento as the lights go out on top of the pace car. We will be just shy of halfway in the stage. We'll have 24 laps complete, 26 laps to go, and we come back green, still meaning we're outside of the fuel window.
Certainly is. And just a light moment whilst this is the finale of the season of Course 7. I saw one of the comments in the chat room here for the broadcast tonight, and I do excuse my cell phone going off there, but, well, someone says, what language should we broadcast it in? I don't know about you, Evan, but for me, they have the choice between Hebrew and Latin and English, so I think we'll stick with English.
I will take option C as well. My French is not what it used to be, and we have yet to put a full launch into LSRTV Deportes, so we will hold off on that for the time being.
We certainly will. Either way, we're not far off from the restart now. We'll be getting back to green flag conditions in this one as, well, the lights are off and we should be going back to green. Preet and Cozy Jr. on that front row is going to be an interesting start.
And that accident happened so far back in the pack. Did it affect any of our playoff drivers who are all in a pretty competitive state at the moment, with the exception of Brandon Cruz-Monsivais, who is, however, now back on the lead lap. There's only two drivers who have lost lead lap status throughout this exchange. Joey Piccolella, who is caught up innocently as a bystander, but that one, he is one lap down 33rd. And Gary Campion is one lap down in 34th. He was actually involved in a single car incident before the incident that was the yellow. He found some issues on his own, got up into the outside wall, came down, took the quick repair. He's a lap down as well. First caution flag of the night. The pace car goes back down. We get a restart with Spencer Preet on the front row this time. He and Michael Cozy going to be side by side as we come to the line, and it's somebody not named Wofford leading.
And that'll definitely make things a little different for Rodney, especially here. He's all the way back there in the fifth, sixth place there on the inside lane. He's now back up to third though, thanks to the outside shuffling backwards. 77 Cozy Jr. didn't get it going too well. He drops it onto the low side there, leaving the outside to be led by the number 87 car there. Going to keep themselves going forwards, but it's just a little tough at the moment for the outside to really get the momentum early on.
The outside always struggles, but much worse of a go at it this time than what they had on the drop of the initial American Ethanol green flag, because that one, they only dropped back about maybe 2-3 car lengths at most. And as they sit right now, that 77 Cozy's clear. Cozy is sitting fourth in line on the bottom of the racetrack. So it'll be Preet, DeBurch, and Wofford, and then Cozy all clear for the inside line. And now even Jason Altman's get it in on the front. 5 cars clear, maybe 6 cars going to be clear with the 89 of Joseph Gorange down there as well. There's virtually nobody up at the outside anymore. It is only Hukins, and it looks like the 21 of Hedrick up top. Everybody else has jumped ship and gone to the inside.
He has, and one of the biggest movers in the field so far, I think, is Joseph Gorange, who's really pushing himself for the 48-9 car there, is pushing forward in that Starlight Toyota Camry. He's making some big progress there. The MichaelPony.com machine is, well, it's clopping along at fair rate.
And the 28th runs in 7th at the moment. Biggest mover on the night at plus 21 positions. Compared to the driver in front of him, Joseph Hukins, who has been inside of the top 10 all night. Started 10th, but is up to a race high P6 at the moment. I think it's only a matter of time before, as you see now, Hedrick go to the inside, that everybody wants to get down on the bottom of the racetrack. Hukins, though, kind of by himself now, topside. I thought I saw somebody sticking a nose out behind, maybe trying to get up there. That 76 of Scott Warren, though, has recalculated it and found himself back on the left-hand side of the road. And there goes the 81 division. A tough break for getting a pretty good spot on the restart outside of what was run number 2 and restarting 4th. By the end of this thing, he'll probably end up outside of the top 8 or so, although maybe an outside line revival. Victor Bartlett thinking about it, just teasing for the time being.
Yeah, absolutely, and part of me wants to make a joke about Gorange and wishing he was driving a Mustang right now, but Spencer Preet, though, still up front here already, and that's really good progress from him, keeping himself further forwards. And, Demergent's back in second place here. Wofford crawling up as well.
Look at that 50 with Voltmans. He kind of forces his way to the inside of Michael Cozy Jr. on the bottom of the racetrack. Didn't really, you know, open up a position, but the 51 flashed the nose a little bit, went to the inside, and all of a sudden Cozy was forced up to the outside of the racetrack. Victor Bartlett, who had been thinking about it, he's gone top, and here we go. The 7 and the 51 going to go to the outside, and Ronnie Wofford wants to make a play back for the race lead. You're looking for a big run this time off the corner. See if you can do something with it. It's only the 72 and the 57. No support from behind as Joseph Gorange works on getting back up to them. Thought maybe this would be a big opportunity for Wofford. It will put him even, but not enough to really put up a fair fight for P1.
I don't know, they keep moving forwards, but again, they can get to that front row. And the outside lane seems to hit a wall, Evan, and they just can't get any further.
And I think the biggest thing they had going for them was obviously that first burst of speed, but they immediately found themselves topside going into the quarter, and it's just so difficult to really do anything with that. And Seven Wofford now stuck up on the outside of the racetrack. So it'll be he, the 51 of Opens, the 77 of Cozy, then the 81 of Yukons, who's still up there, fourth in line at the time being. This is very much, though, pack racing. Now, we talked about that, you know, yes, it is a larger field count than what we've had in recent weeks, more, I think, comparable to what we did see at the beginning of this year and what we will see at the beginning of next year with 34 cars on track here tonight. But not only does that create a lack of real estate, but it's just so difficult to really get 1, 2, 3 cars together on this current build and get going. It is really that pack mentality, and that's why I think that with the exception of really Gorange, who's now gone 28th to 3rd, not a lot of people have picked up a ton of positions at once.
Yeah, they kind of did, and shuffling things up quite a bit here at the front. Gorange, look at this, 28th to 3rd place now. That is absolutely huge, and it's really making things quite interesting.
Another big mover, and it is one of the drivers joining us for the DXT side of things. How about Lucas Cram? Started 26th, he's in 10th. We have a caution flag, and spinning in the back, Jimmy Coleman in P26 has gone around, and it is a mess between looks like Brandon Cruz, Monsivice, and Mike Schultz. Mike Schultz with the solo spin going into turn number 3, came down on the 54, and it is a mess. Second time tonight the yellow flag has come from outside of the top 20.
It is, and it's what we're going to see really in this field size of like 34 cars. It's what will really come up here. 34 cars in the field. They're going to have wrecks. It's going to happen, but this one is, again, too soon. It's just far enough that it's in a bad place here because we have... Oh no, actually it's just far enough that we do get to go to the end after this one, so it's almost perfectly timed.
Yeah, just inside of that window means that as of this time by with 18 laps to go, everybody should be able to come down, get fuel. I mean, you don't have to come down and get fuel, but it wouldn't make much sense not to. Everybody who comes down, fills that tank up, is going to be able to race this one out to the end of the stage. Make it to that lap 50 marker, and we saw a little bit of positions get exchanged last time down the pit road. Let's see what happens this time. And Spencer Preet, first car in.
He is, and we'll see how he comes out of pit road. People might need to take tires now if they haven't, and Demergent stays out, so he's going to play a guessing game here. Demergent takes the front row instead, and he chooses not to pit, and he's going to have to come in 10 laps time if he doesn't. And well, it's only the 46 of Reagan with him, so unless those two can pit together, they need a caution really to stay in this race.
And it'll be the fuel-only call for Spencer Preet. He will win the race on for the pit lane, but the big play is Kyle Manger, Richard Reagan, and Seth the Merchant. Stay out, no fuel. And Merchant Going to be able to take over the lead in this race, but he will be shy, I think, to the stage break. That's a lot of valuable bonus points that he may leave on the table. As we pace so for the second time tonight, we'll take this quick opportunity to step aside and go LSRTV nonstop. Seth the Merchant is your race leader. You're watching the finale in Florida 400, part of LSRTV's continuing coverage of the Superspeedway Cup Series on your home for sim racing and iRacing Live.
Red Bull GRCs are now available on iRacing. I personally put my blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, developing the cars, the tracks, the dirt, making sure it is authentic as possible, and I really think you guys are going to love it. The best part is that this 600 horsepower Volkswagen Beetle is free to all members. So get signed up now and come race me online.
The yellow flag is out. Pit road is now open. Keep your eye on those gauges. We'll give you 4 tyres. 3, 2, 1, now. We're done. Get going.
Racing, you wanted the best, you got them 4 abreast, often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
And back live from the Daytona International Speedway. Lights out on top of the iRacing official pace car. This race set to go back green. This time by, going to be 35 behind us. Still a long way from home, but more importantly, 15 laps to go in the opening stage here from Daytona. And the reason that this is big news is the top 3 drivers, just before we stepped away, you can see Seth the Merchant, Richard Reagan Jr., and Kyle Anger decided to not pit. And the 57 Seth the Merchant into tonight as your playoff leader. He cannot make it to the stage break. Everybody else can. Rodney Watford could gain big time. Even Chris Passini could make up a big amount of points if Santa Merchant does end up getting caught off cycle in this exchange. We'll find out how it works, though, as the pace car heads down and in. We get set to try it once more. Green flag in the air. Let's look for the top side to get a better restart. Atrocious last time, and a much better jump up for the 46.
Yeah, certainly is. 46 getting a good start on that one. He's on the high on the outside now, and we know the Merchant to the 46 will need to come down pit road soon. They've got like 10 laps here. So they're not going to make it to the end unless you get to the caution. It might be able to stretch it. It's a huge gamble, though. I'm not sure what they're really planning to do with this, but it's definitely going to be edgy for certain. But as it stands, the outside's starting to drop back now. The momentum they had has gone away. And while it's, as it stands, they are dropping back now.
And the 25 at the bobble there with Manger means that the 57 at the Merchant doesn't have a lot of help this time coming off of the corner, although the 46 and the 1772 rather in their own right, not necessarily hooked up and pushing at rocket speed on the outside of the racetrack. So I thought that might have been an opportunity that they could have tried to pounce on, but nothing really comes from that for the time being. We stay pretty much even. But again, last time you saw them drop well back 8, 9 car lengths off of the inside. This would have very much more like what we saw in the drop of the initial green flag tonight. Not necessarily battling for the race lead, but within a car length is pretty good for the outside.
Absolutely, you're right. It is very good to be holding on that well, but they are still fairly low on the numbers, and it's always one of the tricky positions is to hold that side, and they can't hold it for long.
Restart came with 30 cars total being scored on the lead lap, and there isn't really a lead pack breakaway yet to this point. Set the Merchant doing a little bit of dancing on the front row, considered going up top on the short chute between the tri-oval and turn number 1 to try to slow down the 46 of Reagan, who he thought had a little bit of an intimidating run coming off of the turn. The 46 does have a little bit of damage on the left rear quarter panel. I'm not sure if it's enough to affect the car. It's funny that, you know, we talk about a track like this being the most aerodynamically sensitive, while saying at the same time, well, because of the draft, you could probably get away with something like that. I'm sure it's not making Spencer Preach's job any easier. It's any time you get close to the left rear quarter panel on somebody, it is very treacherous. And you talk about now a left rear quarter panel of the 46 that's got some damage on it. The 72 has to be very disciplined working up top.
Yeah, you've got to be super disciplined up there. You've got to make sure you keep those lines just right, otherwise it can really mess up your racing, and those for people behind you as well. You can lose momentum so fast up there. You've got to be so cautious.
81 machine of that's Yukon's up top. He's been that fourth car on the outside for who knows how long now. Doesn't have anybody behind him, and I'm kind of convinced that he really doesn't enjoy hanging out up there. The problem is, though, you know, he's not far enough back to the point where he can tuck in line behind the guys on the inside, and it's just too thick of traffic to find a spot in line. And well, maybe you do want to get to the inside, but I don't think he's committed enough to that to the point where he would actually drop back, you know, to 11th or so position to end up there. So he'll try to see if he can get something to cook it with Joseph Gorange up in front. You got 2 sets of 2 at the moment on the outside of the racetrack, but I think Seth the Merchant is in a pretty good spot. But again, the question overhanging is the 57, the 25, and the 46 coming to 10 laps to go in the stage. Certainly don't have enough fuel to be able to make it.
No, they don't, and that is definitely going to be their major concern here, is they have to have a caution soon. They desperately want one, and, well, will they get it anytime soon? We just don't know. That's the problem, is they aren't too sure when it's going to drop, and they've got to be praying for it to happen.
Last time they were down pit road, it was at lap number 25. They are hoping that that yellow flag gave them enough laps under yellow to save. It's not a terrible gamble. I'm just surprised that when you talk circumstantially speaking, that your championship leader is the one making a gamble. Kyle Anger, you know, Richard Reagan Jr., I get it. It's a big if for the 57. If we do get, speaking of ifs, if we do get a yellow flag, though, between now and lap 50, that would do a lot to help these guys out. We haven't seen problems, ironically enough, happen up front. Both yellows tonight came from wrecks outside of the top 20, so
Yeah, they did, and they need to keep their eyes on that because it can really affect them in ways they don't want. They've got to make sure these wrecks stay behind the lead pack, you know, stay behind our contenders. And it's a real shot, but I'm seeing a lot of yellow bumpers up here in this top 10 right now. I'm seeing a lot of drivers who are fairly new, who are less experienced, some names we don't normally see up here, and that's got to scare some of these veterans.
These rookies have shown very little fear over the course of this season. We have a couple more of those new faces with us tonight. But I think that even the likes of, Reagan and Preeton, most definitely Michael Cozy Jr., who has dropped off a significant margin after starting this race P5, he's back in 14th at the moment. So, you think even those guys are kind of veteran rookies, if that's a thing, as Joseph Gornish is going to get forced up at a lot of miscommunication between he and Yukons. I'm going to put them 3 wide, and now we're going to be 4 wide. That's not going to work, and there goes Cram.
That's exactly what we were just saying there, Evan. And, well, it was a tricky move there. He got forced up. It was the 89 got wobbled and forced himself up there and ended up 3 wide with the 87. And, well, that's where the whole thing began. We're getting that replay up from LSRTV now, and you see down there, 44 goes down low, 76 tries to make a move. Don't think he realizes he's 3 wide there. Takes it 4 wide and dumps him. Yeah, just didn't know where he was, not having the awareness of the fact there were 2 cars above him.
And it was a very similar exchange between the 89 and the 81 than what we saw with the 44 and the 76. One guy got a little bit loose at out of line, and instead of just lifting to let everybody get sorted out, both the 81 machine thought it was an opportunity to get something, and the 76 machine thought the same thing. And then you had Scott Warren going into a 4 wide scenario. I think he saw the 81 and the 89 up top because he wasn't going to go any higher. He didn't move up and get the car in the middle. I think Lucas Cram couldn't have gone much lower because he was on the yellow line. I think really it was those 2 guys topside who were too concerned with not wrecking each other. They didn't know that there was 2 wide below them, and it just, there's no way when you have 2 incidents like that where you go from single file to 2 wide on both lanes at the same time. There's very little that those drivers could have done to avoid that one. And it brings out the yellow. I jinxed it. I said no incidents up front. Got one inside of the top 10. Brings us under the yellow. This is big for Seth Merchant on the field strategy.
He might be able to stay out and just run the last 2 laps to the caution. He knows is going to happen within, oh, I don't know, 2 laps after they go back to green. Has he got 2 laps of fuel? Can he probably save 1 lap of fuel per caution period? He might, on the outside, go for this, because a stage win would really seal a dominance here. It'd seal the points difference hugely for him, and it's a gamble we might see him make. But will he stay on the tyres for this long? That's a question. I think it's possible. Will he go? He's not looking like he wants to. No, he's staying out. A lot of these guys are staying out. Those that pitted on 32, they're fine. DeMerchant, he's on the edge. Reagan Jr. also commits. Those 2 cars that stayed out are staying out there now. So that's me on a replay watching this one, not so live, as we called something that happened. But either way, it's a factor that I think this is going to be an exciting run to this first stage.
Yeah, we did see drivers 8th on the back come down to the pit lane, and their strategy is they're not going to get bonus points at the stage break, but they're going to be able to stay out after the stage when everybody else comes down pit road, and then they're going to cycle through to the front. Now, obviously, that strategy kind of banks on not having a green flag run once we go back racing inside of the final 50 laps, because you'll be about 6 laps short compared to everybody else. Whereas if we go, 10, 15 laps and get a yellow, everybody will probably pit with you. But this, I think, is a logical call with the likes of Wofford and Piscini, obviously, to get the bonus points for the stage break. Even Michael Cozy Jr. in the number 77 machine, who had lost a significant amount of, positions and is working with damage. Even he is aware that, despite the fact that he was deep enough in the pack that everybody around him was going with the come down pit road strategy, he needs, even if what right now P8 would be only 3 points, you need that. You can't leave any points on the table in the whole playoff, this whole round of 6, but let alone in the last race on the year. So Cozy as well is going to stay out, and what looked like a questionable strategy played by DeMerchant may just work out, having this second yellow opportunity to save fuel.
Yeah, certainly. And well, the race is unfolding in a very interesting fashion right now. This has really taken us to an interesting spot here. We will get to our halftime caution, we think, without another one. It might not, well, it could end up under yellow, but that only seals things for the Merchant, because we know he's got a car that's fast enough to stay out front. And with the 25 up there of Carmanja and Reagan Jr. and Preet, that's a big buffer between himself and known fast cars. So there's a good chance that if he stays out here, which he looks like he's going to do the whole way, this is a stage win for the Merchant, already looking like it's a gift horse.
And Seth the Merchant in the stages has been so good. You want to know why he's got that 16-point advantage in the championship? Well, it helps that he won to open up this second round of the playoffs 2 weeks ago when we were here at Daytona Circa 07. But in that race, he also led and won the stage break. That was 10 points. A week ago, Rodney Watford took home the win. That was big. But Seth the Merchant won the stage break. So if you take away the stages, Seth the Merchant 20 bonus points from the stages in this round of the playoffs alone. If you take away the stage points, Seth the Merchant comes into tonight with a 4-point disadvantage to Rodney Watford in the championship standings. Those two drivers have wins this round, but if you look at the races in which they didn't win, the upper hand there goes to Rodney Watford. So Seth the Merchant has done everything that you could hope for out of these stages with 20 bonus points, and he's looking to get to number 30 if he can hold on for this one. We'll see how many laps are going to be left. Lights on top of the pace car go out. It'll be a 3-lap shootout to the end of the stage.
Yeah, 3 laps. It's going to be super close for the Merchant and for Reagan. So, hey, we could see someone lose fuel, actually, and come into the line. Because remember, they have to make it to the end of 50, not just onto it.
It's going to be the 57 and the 25 in the front row to Merchant Championship driver. And, of course, Kyle Manger up at the outside of the racetrack. Richard Reagan Jr. inside of row 2/3. Those are the drivers who stayed out. And keep in mind, this isn't just trying to have enough fuel to get to the end of the stage like it is just trying to get enough fuel to get to the end of a race and not being able to do burnouts. You need to be able to do burnouts because you've got to get back around to pit road to fuel up. So it's that much more of a fuel crunch for those top 3. Then you've got Spencer Preet, 4th championship driver, Rodney Watford in number 5 spot, Chris Passini accompanying him in the number 6 position, and Michael Cozy Jr. right there in 7. So you got 3 of our playoff championship 6 guys all tucked up with one another, P5, 6, and 7. And those 3 all, if they have any hopes of taking the title, not only have to try to basically, I think, win the stage and win the race, but they have to do so while having Seth the Merchant a significant amount of positions behind them. They're not doing that right now. They've got 3 laps to do it. We might see a lot more aggressive driving in these next 3 laps than I think we've seen all night so far.
Absolutely, and can Seth the Merchant afford aggressive driving? Those 2-3 laps to the end of the race is essentially 4, so it's going to be close.
Pace car down it in. Seth the Merchant trying to stretch it. Can he sweep every single stage win in the playoff round of 6? We go back. Reason is a better jump topside. Only 3 cars break it out on the outside, but it was Kyle Manger at the line. Can they challenge through 1 and 2 and to the back straightaway? They're in a good spot.
I think they have it. Once they hit the back stretch, they'll get a bit of distance, and it's enough to really get in front of the Merchant here. But, oh, wow, Passini drops down.
Hurts him. That's going to hurt him.
Yeah, Passini, I think he chose his line there deliberately. As the back stretch, they're wasting what was an opportunity here, and it's almost gifting it back to the Merchant, who I think thought he'd lost that lead.
But he can't blame Passini, because if Passini pushes the 25 to the lead, it doesn't help him out. He's still tucked topside. The 72 is Spencer Preet's going to go to the inside of the racetrack as well. And Kyle Manger looked like he was about 10 seconds away from leading this race. And he is now going the wrong direction after a brilliant restart. Representing the outside line, he's going to tuck in line behind Rodney Watford and end up in 6th position. So we're single file with popsicle sticks in the air and the race to the stage break at lap number 50. Do we see anybody challenge? Certainly, if you're Passini or Watford, you got to take some sort of a risk. You can't sit back and let the Merchant get the 10 points. At least make it work for it.
Yeah, it certainly is. And, wow, it's pushing forwards here, but this is coming to a close very shortly, and they're all single file, so as long as he lasts on fuel, I think the Merchant is good here. But remember, that's 2 more laps of wide open throttle here to make it.
A big thing if these guys want to challenge the Merchant is they need to get Richard Reagan on board. If everybody goes up top and they leave the 57 hanging, there is a legitimate chance for Chris Bassini and Ronnie Watford to try to do something. They're looking high side from the 3rd and 4th row of the grid, but still far, no action to turn 2.
No, not yet, and it's going to stay consistent, but looking like we have a challenge mounting here with Bassini, Preet, and Wofford. Wofford needs the points here, and I think he's dropped back down again. Demergent's fighting this one now. He wants to stay up there. Will Preet go round him? 3 wide here on lap 50. Coming to the line, and Reagan comes through. Richard Reagan, the rookie, takes that lead position. Demergent drops backwards and will take that. Was that an actual caution? I think it was. It was, caution, yes. We got a car off the track.
Caution. Just moments before we got to the line, it was Raymond Lees, I think. 19 machine. He's got a lot of damage. He ended up in the outside wall all on his own 3rd time tonight. We've seen a self-spin lead to issues. He came down and tagged the 61. It was only moments away from when the stage break was going to be anyways. And the tough break for Spencer Preet there was that this drops him back, and that is big time for Chris Bassini, who comes 2nd. Yes, it is only going to be a 1-point difference, but now you only have to make up 15 points on Seth the Merchant instead of having to make up 16. The little things count, and made up 1 point after it looked like he could have lost about 3 or 4 points in that exchange. So here's the running order at the end of the stage. It is Richard Reagan Jr. who gets the stage win and the 10 bonus points, with Chris Bassini in 2nd, Seth the Merchant in 3rd spot, Spencer Preet is 4th, and Ronnie Wofford loses some more, slipping to almost 20 points from the championship lead to P5. Kyle Anger comes home in 6th spot with Michael Cozy Jr. 7th, Justin Levine at 8th, Travis Brown at 9th, and Dan Harrington to the top 10.
Absolutely, and well, the 11th place in this one so far is Joseph Derwish. Oh, that's shuffled around as they come into pit road, so I've actually lost our position. I'll wait till they come off pit road before we actually run through that 11th through 20th positions for you, Evan, but with them going off the pit road, it's shaking things around. Ramon Evans, Dan Harrington, Glenn Hedrick, Victor Bartlett, Rod Flagg, Ricky Wall, Gary Champion, and Joseph Junkins with, I believe, Corey Smith and Mike Schultz.
Race off for the pit lane is going to go in favor, as you said, to Cozy. We race now to the end of this one, but the bonus points to Richard Reagan Jr. He is your stage winner tonight from the Daytona International Speedway, as the championship difference comes down to 15 points. We'll take another opportunity to step aside, and when we come back, we race with the championship trophy on the line halfway home in tonight's finale at Florida 400. You're watching the Superspeedway Cup Series on LSRTV.
When I was 16 years old, I was working in a Goodyear tire store, and my boss actually built an old dirt car, street stock Monte Carlo. Went with him one night, fell in love with it. It was a hell of a race, hell of a party, and a big fight afterwards. I was like, this is it. This is it for me. It wasn't long after that, I was driving an old 78 Camaro out of the weeds at that guy's farm. We pulled that thing out and made a race car out of it, and away we went. You know, I think a driver has more to do with the equation going back and racing dirt, whether it's a modified, a late model. You can do more with the race car. You know, the harder you drive it, a lot of times, the better it goes. You can crawl up on that wheel and feel like you made the difference at the end of the night. Asphalt car, you can't overdrive them. Well, that was the first thing that I had to learn right off the bat is, oh my gosh, I've got to discipline myself, not overdrive this thing, and that's how you get the most out of it. Truth be told, communicating the right information to your crew and your crew chief so they can do their job and make their appropriate adjustments for you to go faster and do your job is probably 90% of the game in our world. I've always loved late models. You know, my dream was to be a late model driver driving for a living across the country like Daryl and Don do that drive for me. I mean, that was, truth be told, that was my dream, you know. I always wanted a semi. I always wanted a stacker trailer with 2 hot rods in it and let's go racing. Let's take off with your buddies and go race and chase that dream. Never in a million years did I think it would turn into a Cup Series, and I actually have an opportunity to own 2 you know, dirt late model teams. When you think of iRacing, you don't think of a video game. It's not. It's way above and beyond any of that. You know, dirt racing changes so much. The track changes so much. Being able to capture that, to, you know, experience all those details that surround dirt racing and make dirt racing what it is what makes iRacing so cool, because they did nail all of that. I knew when they came to our shop and scanned cars and went to the detail of getting that car right, I knew that it was going to be over the top, because it blew my mind just the work that went into making sure the car itself was legit. This sport has been around a long time. The competition can't be replaced, and that's what brings people back to the racetrack week in and week out.
We're back live to Daytona Beach, Florida for LSRTV's coverage of the Superspeedway Cup Series Season 15 finale, with tonight's finale in Florida 400. As always, our coverage of the Superspeedway Cup Series is brought to you by Joel Real Timing, the official timing software of LSRTV. Whether you spend your time on the sim behind the wheel, from the pit box, or on top of the spotter stand, JRT is your go-to software for iRacing timing and scoring analytics. You can get yourself the basic download today or the full pro version by logging online to joel-real-timing.com. Joel Real Timing is the official timing software of LSRTV. Pace car in, let's hit the reset button. The bonus points have been handed out, nothing matters now. But the race down to the checkered flag, 54 laps complete, 46 laps to go. The big trophy hanging in the balance. Green flag flies again, and second time in a row the outside, slightly better restart.
Yeah, good start on the outside, and Altman's up there with Cram as well. As wow, that really shook up our corner of our stage there, of course, with the result we saw at the end. That made things very interesting. The Merchant back in the pack here. It's his race to lose, and Altman gets out front, and that's a huge advantage for him in that Cirrus Fusion. Behind there, of course, Hedrick, Evans, Junkins, and he's going to get a little tight here as the 30 might get turned. They managed just to avoid what could have been a really messy situation into 3, Evan.
We've seen a lot more of those in, recent laps, definitely, compared to the opening laps of this one. And look at the 44 machine, a very aggressive move from Cram down to the inside line. About took the nose off of Glenn Hendrick, who I'm sure is not a big fan of that one. Both of those cars almost racked in the 57. What a save by Seth the Merchant, and they're wrecking behind him.
Yeah, they are trying to work out where that actually happened, and it's in the grass in the tri-oval. I believe one of them, 25 of Kyle Manger, involved in that one. That's big wreck with the 2.
It was Ricky Wall who got turned. He got checked up by the 18 and then was tagged by the 01 machine of Travis Brown. And it was Ricky Wall who took the spin into the wall at a quarter number 4. And that was just moments after we saw championship leader Seth the Merchant almost wreck his car coming through the tri-oval. He himself got checked up on the 30. That car was so very close to going into the fence. If Seth the Merchant is able to hang on to win this championship, you have to look back at that as a very critical moment, not only in this race, but in the season as a whole. But there was a lot of checking up top to bottom, and it took a couple of guys out at the back to bring out that yellow.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, these things do tend to happen in the back, but lap 57 now for this one, and it's meaning we're shaking up the run again to the end here. So will we get to lap 100? Well, obviously we will get to lap 100 because it's not a timed race tonight, but more importantly, Evan, the big thing we need to consider here is when these cautions are falling. It's only 7 laps afterwards. Most people came in for a stop, so it's just before halfway in a run. So this is really not a good time for a caution. If we go green from this point, we'll probably go back to green on 60. That takes us to about 81, which puts us inside a window, but it's not an ideal one.
And you just kind of have to roll with the punches. I think that, well, yes, these guys have a number in their head. Okay, if this race goes green to this point, this is when we're going to pit. How often does that happen? I think that everybody's at this point very much used to just kind of having to roll with what's thrown at them, and at a position now we're just outside bubble that would be able to bring it to the end of this one, although a lot of drivers are banking, hey, if we're going to get more yellows, why not? So a lot of drivers coming down pit road. In fact, I would argue a little bit more than half the field pitting.
Yeah, certainly. I think it's a good time to really get in there because it just tops the tank, make sure you're in the right place. But this will go forwards and it will of course improve. So it just depends on entirely how these guys want to play this. We'll probably see a split on how these guys are going to play this from this point. That, I think, will have the biggest impact. We'll have different groups pitting at different times, and that could cause some confusion.
So everybody's going to shuffle up more. Obviously, the primary concern is, yes, there's a race win on the line here, but I think at the end of the day, gotta follow the championship, guys, and Michael Cozy is the one who stays out and really gets the biggest benefit of this because he'll jump up to 4th. Seth the Merchant is going to be 8th position or so, and again, we'll wait for the guys to come by the line so we can get a an accurate hard read on what position they're going to be in come the end of the day. So we'll see how that plays out, but I think Cozy had to mix it up coming into tonight at a 24-point deficit. Yes, he got some bonus points at the stage break, but no, he did not get more than Seth the Merchant did, so he has to take a gamble at some point. Why not do it at this opportunity? You're gonna have to put yourself off cycle with other people, and that's just kind of the way things work out. So we'll see how that plays into effect in the grand scheme of things. One other thing I want to note is we still got 29 cars in the lead lap. That's the bulk of the field still in this thing. So we are far from over. And UT, and if you're on the wrong side of it, the demise of the way that these playoff formats work in, with a full field as well running around your championship, guys, is all those cars going to be big factors.
It is, and we've seen it be a factor so far, and of course that's exactly what we expect it to be. Cars who are not in a position to be involved in the playoffs are really having an impact. Look at the front at the moment. Altmans, Evans, Junkins. Cozy Jr. is the first driver who's in the position to actually be involved in this, and he's quite far back and forth. Preet, Reagan, Bartlett, Champion, Warren, Harrington. There's Wofford down in 11th. Demergent in 12th. This is shaking these positions around, and they have to be considering points.
Now that everybody's reset, let's take this opportunity, take a look top to bottom at your iRacing midway race break. I know we're a little bit past it. Let's take this opportunity to kind of reset the field, brought to you by iRacing, the leading online racing simulation developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service. iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks from all around the globe. And in the fast-paced world of esports, iRacing is your one-stop shop for online racing with visually sanctioned series by the likes of NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Global Rallycross. At lap number 59, Jason Altmans is your race leader, trailed by Remote Evans in second, and Joseph Yukons in the number 3 position. Leading championship 6 driver Michael Cozy Jr. scored 4th at the moment, with Spencer Preet behind him in 5th. Richard Reagan Jr. stage winner is P6. Victor Bartlett is in 7th, with Gary Champion 8th, Scott Warren 9th, and Dan Harrington rounds out your top 10.
11th place, Rodney Wofford tonight, and 12th place is Seth the Merchant. Hedrick in 13th with Levine in the 14th spot, Chris Bassini in 15th, Joseph Gorringe, and the My Little Pony Machine in 16th place with Joseph Duwasha in 17th. Number of cars coming back in to top up on field there as Corey Smith 18th, Joey Piccolella in 19th, and John Johnson in 20th.
Front flag is 21st with Mike Schultz in 22nd. You've also got Ricky Wall back there, and a lot of drivers now coming in to top off on fuel. Makes sense at 40 laps to go. So John Johnson's now going to end up 20th. It'll be Ricky Wall 21st. Raymond Leys in 22nd position. Kyle Manger 23rd. Rod Flag drops to 24th. Travis Brown 25th with Mike Schultz 26th. Robbie Lyons 27th. Brandon Cruz-Montsevice is 28th. Lucas Cram 29th. Mike Thiel is 30th. And just around everybody out here, 31st for Chris Pratton. He's out of this race. So is Jimmy Coleman 32nd. Kevin Spencer 33rd. And Ray Rittenauer in 34th position. That's a look top to bottom at your iRacing Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, visit iRacing.com to sign up today. So lights out on top of the pace car. In theory, we're within the window, especially for those who topped off, to be able to make it to the end of this race on one stop. Strategy will obviously be affected by how many of these laps are under the green or the yellow nylon, but we're about to find out. And Jason Altman's first opportunity, I think, to lead this race after being top 5 for most of it.
Yeah, certainly is, and it'll be interesting to see him up there because we know he's a very known factor as a fast car, so he could hold up there for quite a long time.
Yukons is obviously there. I think Cozy looking to take this as an opportunity to make a play for the race lead. He really needs to get a checkered flag tonight to have any remote shot and ending up with the championship trophy in his possession at the end of it. Here we go, those 60 laps down, 39 laps to go in season 15 of the Superspeedway Cup Series. Again, topside, winning to the line, but they have not been good enough to clear for the race lead. Does Evans finally do that this time?
Yeah, it's getting a bit wobbly, a bit further back from your very front group here as the team went up high. Wofford trying to make his way through and nearly had 3 wide there early on as 21 of Hedrick drops down to get into position as Evans looking towards the lead here as Saltmans holds the inside line. Cozy Jr. pushing behind him with Reagan Jr. Some pretty fast cars up there as Cozy drops down, takes a spot and gets himself in a secure location.
Just like the other 2 times, leading at the start-finish line, not enough to really secure a big gain. I mean, it is a bonus point, to be fair, in the back pocket of Red Evans, but he will be cleared by 3 cars to the inside of the racetrack by the time he actually comes by and gets to the start-finish line once more. Outside, going to struggle. We expect that to be the case. The good news, Michael Cozy is on the inside, so he'll pick up a position and end up in 3rd by the time we get this sorted back out. And the 57 to set the Merchant. A little bit of a tight squeeze that time with Victor Bartlett as they exchange for P6.
Oh, wrecking, big one there in the banking of 2 and 3. Into turn 3, I think that was turn 3. There was a big wreck actually, the 18 and the 21 run round.
And it had a lot of cars torn up. It all started with the 21 of Glenn Hedrick. He got turned after the 18 machine. Gary Champion got turned, and that had the racetrack blocked, and it was on from there. The 74 car, nowhere to go. John Johnson gets a big hit, and the big one, we got away with a lot of small self-spins tonight. That is a lot of cars, at least a dozen of them in turn number 3.
Yes, it was, and, well, unfortunate there, but we're going to have a couple more of these, I think, before the end, Evan.
Well, it helps out the case that, obviously, maybe stretch it out on field to the end of this with 1 pit stop. Yellow flags don't do any service to guys who are back in a pack, trying to make up positions. You need green flag laps at the end of the day. If you're in fact, those positions where the yellow flag started from were inside of the top 10, so it doesn't necessarily apply. But, if you're mid-pack, you can't really, you gotta fight hard to make the passes, but you can't fight too hard to wreck each other, because then you're not going to get the green flag laps to make the passes. So it is that constant push and pull of, what is worth it and what isn't worth it. But we are back under the caution flag here from Daytona and past the halfway point. Well, as it looks, Jason Oatman's going to be coming down pit road. Do the guys who topped off last time stay out? It looks like they are. So it's the other half of the field in this time.
It is, and while the other half coming in for that service, this is a better position to have it happen in. This puts us on the better side of green. They will make it with 1 more from this position, so that's definitely a major advantage at this point in the race.
Race control having a chat with some of the drivers in that one, just reminding them that yes, our playoff drivers have some teammates. The race control is keeping an especially close eye on things that are going to be happening throughout the field as far as team orders and such, which is against, of course, the rules, as you would expect. We're pacing now again from the World Center of Racing. We'll take another opportunity to step aside, have some of our partners say hi as we go LSRTV non-stop. Spencer Prate in the lead in this race, trying to find Superspeedway Cup victory lane in the season finale. He's up front at lap number 64.
Hi, I'm Chris Page. I work here at iRacing. Been here 2 days before launch, actually, is when I got started. So we have developers working on front-end web development. We have back-end guys specializing there. We have DevOps that are dealing with networking, servers, a database team, so many different teams because there's lots of different work to do. The new user interface, which we call Scorpio internally, is a complete overhaul. So in the case of results, the way that it has historically worked is you would request results. The request would be sent to the server, which would then query the database, compile that, and send it back. What we're doing now is whenever we get the results of a race, we'll compile those results and push them up as a static page cached so that when you need it, it's available for you. It doesn't need to be computed on the fly. It will be much faster and scale much better. Just began with reimagining the website. We took a step back and said, how do people use this? How do people want to use it? And our initial vision of leveraging the web and getting your stats there, finding out a schedule and joining, that was a good one. And we want to continue to support that as much as possible. We're also making a change so that you'll be able to just double click on the application and fire up and go racing that way. Jump from one race to the next without even leaving the application. The good news is this is a whole new infrastructure, so we'll be able to release it in parallel and you'll be able to use the existing member site you're comfortable with, but still fire up the application and get the new experience. And that will really help us because as good of a job we've done, there's still things we can learn. And by running it in parallel, we'll be able to collect that data and make it an even better experience. We'll be able to learn by your input. So with the preview of the user interface, you'll be able to use the new feature Time Attack and be able to experience some of the existing functionality, but we still haven't done everything, and that will come over time. We're going to have tighter integration with the sim in the back end than we ever have before. So as an example, in Time Attack, whenever there's a new best lap time, we take that lap data and we push it up into the cloud. What then happens is when you're in Time Attack, you're launching a session, you can pick anyone's best lap time and race against it, whether that be a friend or the leader in your current competition. When you fire up the sim, it will pull down that data and you can race against that lap time. We're looking forward to getting this out to you because we've been working on it for a really long time. But we're super excited about where we're going because this is only the beginning.
With the lights out on top of the iRacing.com pace car, we get set for another restart. 2/3 of the way through tonight's finale in Florida 400 from the Daytona International Speedway. Spencer Prate, your race leader, just as we stepped aside. But another shuffle up in running order. 2 yellows quickly since the halfway point of this race. First yellow flag brought us just shy of lap 60 and just on the edge of the fuel window. Saw a lot of drivers come down and top off, while those who did not come down and top off came in under this yellow. So everybody should, again, I'll put an asterisk around that, be able to make it to the end of this race with one stop. Now, that might not really matter, dependent on the yellows we see, Rachel, but it's a fun stat to note that we're getting close to the end of this, and the race start will be about 34, I think, left on the board.
Will be, which definitely puts us in the midway point of a half and half here. So when do people come with these split strategies? Pace car's about to pull down on that long left-hand turn.
Pace car's been off and away. Spencer Preet gets set to put the loud pedal down as we go back green. And the first time in 4 restarts, your inside line leads it. The start-finish line, the inside is by far and large the place to be, and it is still a spirited charge by Victor Bartlett to turn 1. We'll see how long it lasts as he's got Reagan on the left rear. It's a dicey place to be in, trying to get up to speed especially.
Yeah, it really is a tough position to be in there. Reagan and the 30 very close there. Wofford and Merchant moving their way forwards again here, so there's still potential for them. Passini not out of the question, but one wreck could really end this championship for one of these drivers.
They are in the mix now. There's no way that Seth the Merchant can just decide to back out of this, and it's going to be right there. Caution flag is out, and Seth the Merchant, your championship leader, is in it.
What did I just say, Evan? Oh, one caution could change this race. Caution happens and it involves them.
That car is torn up. It was right on him, too. I was just looking to see DeMerchant's on the outside of the racetrack and somebody else on the inside, and that one I think you got to put on Seth the Merchant. He was getting a little bit impatient with the 82. He moved the 82 machine up and out of the way, and then he hit Dan Harrington in the left rear quarter panel and turned him around. I think that was Scott Warren who went back up the hill. And Seth the Merchant's car is pretty torn up after an incident in quarter number 2. Yes, a quick repair available, but that is huge in the championship picture.
Oh, it really is. It's not just huge, it's massive. I mean, this puts him in a position where he's got one car left now, so somebody has to be careful.
Tough break for him. We will see where he ends up by the time he is able to get that car down pit road. A big winner. Rodney Wofford, who is now 5th on the racetrack, was able to avoid that accident and came into tonight at a 17-point deficit. Did lose a little bit to Seth there at the exchange, I think simply based on those stage points that we saw at lap number 50, and Wofford is going to decide to stay out. The guy who gained a little bit was Chris Passini, who is right behind him. Both of them elect to stay out under the caution flag here and are both going to be inside of the top 5. And now they're almost kind of racing each other for the championship because they're so close to one another, while also kind of having to look back and hope that the Merchant can't catch him.
Absolutely, the Merchant's going to be so on the edge of his seat now. This has put him in a tough spot. And one more accident he's involved in, that's his championship gone. And that would open this wide open. Now we look at the point situation. That's Passini and Wofford 1 point separated. Cozy Jr. is only 5 to 10 points away from those guys. This thing's wide open if the Merchant's out.
And I believe because the Merchant has had a good race up until this point that he should be able to come down and get a quick repair. And he has gotten that quick repair and he's going to get back out on track. The question is, where back out on track does he end up? He may actually benefit from the fact that that wreck happened so close to the front of the field, because there was a fair amount of cars collected in that, and that means that obviously there's going to be a higher number of cars headed down to the pit lane for repairs. But again, the way that these guys race, it's not like Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series points, 1 point per position. So it is not like Seth the Merchant is going to have to lose by 17 positions to give up 17 points. That's a single-digit numerical position at the end of the race difference when you're looking at 17 or 18 points. So it's a lot tighter than the positions might lend you to believe. And listen, Seth the Merchant's a good race car driver. I have no doubt, given 30 laps, he can pass cars and get back up there. But the problem is now, especially, that quick repair is gone. So if you get caught up in an incident, whether it's something that you're involved in, like we saw this time, or something that's completely somebody else's mess, at that point you're done. So he has no more lifelines.
No, he doesn't, and it's going to be a huge weight for him. That's a massive pressure because it puts him in a position where he can't make moves he might ordinarily do. He can't put himself in a risky spot where he can think of possibly losing the car. It changes him from aggressive with something to really think about and puts him in a position where now he has to play defensively, which is not what you want to be in a championship fight.
Another driver who was involved in that incident was the 77 car of Michael Cozy Jr. Doesn't have much, if any, of a back bumper left on that car. Remember, he was your long shot coming into tonight, and no more than 10 laps ago was actually the highest running of your Championship 6 drivers on the racetrack. No more, as that damage has dropped him back a good bit. And I think for having needed a picture-perfect night just to have a remote shot at this thing, I think that incident all but puts the final nail on the coffin of Michael Cozy Jr.'s championship hopes. Never say never, but I can say at least at the moment, things are not looking very promising. The driver of the number 77 Toyota as they run right now. So Piscini jumps up to 4th, Watford up to 5th, and it looks like that Seth the Merchant is going to end up P12, which, to be honest, pretty fortunate.
It is, and it's not the worst situation for these guys, but it's definitely changed things around, and we are now running towards the end of this race, and literally everyone's goal is now the very final checkered flag of the season, and the racing's only going to get more aggressive from here.
I think that we've seen, you know, top players in the championship drop back to lower than 12th position just in the natural exchange of fighting for position as the night has gone on. So I think all things considered, DeMerchant fairly happy. We are down to 24 cars on the lead lap, so he is quite literally smack dab in the middle of it all. And if there's one place that I don't want to be if I'm fighting for something that involves points, is in the middle of the field, because you've got about the highest chance out of anybody of being caught up in something far from over. And the way it sits now, I think that Piscini probably is currently leading the championship as they run. Again, because the way the points work, it's not 1 point per position. It's pretty difficult for us to kind of accurately guesstimate, you know, exactly where we sit. But with the Merchant just outside of the top 10, Piscini running P4, it's pretty close.
It is, and if that's opened this one wide to it's being a very exciting race. If you're watching, stay tuned. You do not want to miss the end of this thing.
So I think I'm just checking the points now, just to give you guys an accurate number. Chris Piscini running 4th would get 88 championship points. And Seth the Merchant running in 12th would get 74. That's a 14-point swing. And I think that means that Seth the Merchant right now is actively leading the championship by 1, because I believe they tightened it in from 16 to 15 points, with Piscini beating the Merchant in the race to the stage break. So in theory, we have a 1-point difference in the championship, with 29 more laps to sort things out from Daytona. Buckle up, because we're going to do it again. American Ethanol green flag in the air, and it is a calm restart up front. Nothing too crazy as we come to 28 to go.
And it's a very, very conservative restart for these guys, as the 42 of Bartlett's actually getting a great push from Piscini and Altmans, but Altmans seemingly dropping back. He's going to probably dive to the low side as he does just that. And look who's coming. Random's Monster Vice is in a place where he could really get involved in this lead group.
And I don't think, as you mentioned, there was not much surprise to see the 51 go down to the inside of the racetrack. That puts Piscini, though, in a tough spot. He has to really commit to Victor Bartlett, because now Wofford passing him on the inside, not something you really want to happen at all. And the interval spreads for points get a lot bigger per position the higher you get. A difference between 10th and 11th is 1 point. The difference between 1st and 2nd is 5 points. So Watford and Piscini help themselves out that much more by climbing into the top 5, where those intervals get a little bit more favorable. The Merchant already up to P10, and Watford, with the biggest gain on that one, leapfrogs in front of Piscini to 3rd.
He does, and while at the front of this is getting 10th, Watford, of course, really big advantage for him there, as he goes further up the order. This gives him more points over Seth the Merchant, who's in 10th place now, trying to work on the outside, but no one to go with.
That's, I think, the biggest thing is, you know, you're going to have people who are in different circumstances. They want to go up top, but it's going to be difficult convincing somebody. And to Merchant again, so tight with Corey Smith this time on his left rear quarter panel, and that was almost big issues again for him.
It nearly was, and these guys have to be very careful when they're putting these cars. The draft actually gets so much closer now. We're seeing more people hook than taking the air corners.
57, I'll tell you what, Divergent's got to be sweating after the way these last couple of laps have been going, but as that car was wrecking just laps ago, if I told you he would be within 3 positions of Chris Piscini at lap number 74, you probably wouldn't have believed me, but somehow Demergent, maybe the stars are aligned with him tonight as we race under the lights from Daytona, but he is back and he wants some more. He'll go Thompson on Ricky Wall. It'll be a difficult pass by himself, but he might have enough side draft to do it.
He could. Reagan pushing hard on the outside, but not going to be enough for him. He has to come backwards. Nothing he can do there on his own. Demergent's going to take the risk. He has to get to the front here to get points. But the outside line's a terribly difficult place. It's hard to avoid accidents in front of you when you're up high because there's literally no part open.
57 again, bullets his way in front this time of the two, and that just kind of shows you how locked in Seth Demergent is. A lot of guys would get into an accident like that, lose their quick repair, and be very shy of doing anything. But look at the 57. First off, very tight slotted in line in front of Corey Smith, then very tight slotted in line in front of the two, aggressively to the inside of Reagan, right to the back bumper to Jason Altman's, and I guess that might be, kind of the way to not think about it. Oftentimes you ask drivers, hey, you got to defend 17 points, and if they go out there with the mindset that I am just trying to defend 17 points, you take it too easy, you almost put yourself in a more compromising position, and if you were to just go out there and just race the car, and I think Demergent is just racing the car like you would any other week.
Yeah, I think he is, and it's what he has to do here. He has to not think about that championship. He just win like he does every time, and well, only this time it's hard to get rid of that from your mind when you know you're in a position to do it and you have a comfortable gap. What risks do you take, what don't you take? And now he has no backup, so you can't afford to take even half the ones he was going to.
Merchant again to the outside of the racetrack. It hasn't hurt him yet because he's been able to get one spot and then one more spot, but you have to wonder as he finds the gap. And I think that too of Ricky Wall, Rachel, one of the newer drivers to the series as well, knows that Demergent's fighting for the championship is probably going to lift every single time. And I think the 57 is kind of abusing that little bit of respect and trust, which, hey, you got to do what you got to do. I think the two's too afraid to keep that nose in there. Nobody wants to be that guy, especially that new guy who takes a championship away from somebody, and Demergent's using that to his advantage to get himself back into a spot now where he's got a little bit more of a comfortable gap on the championship to Piscini, who now has only 2 spots in front of him. Demergent has picked up 5 since the restart.
He has, and well, Demergent's pushing forwards, and it's a very calm, measured, professional way of doing it. Now up front, Preet and Wofford, but hey, one wreck at the front, and he has to make massive evasive action, and a decision in a tenth of a second that will impact his entire race. So the less cars in front of him, the less chance of getting wrecked out. Although with cars hooking the apron like Reagan Jr. just did in front of him, he's got to be watching like hawks.
This time by 22 to go on the doorstep of being able to make it to the end of this race on fuel. Not everybody got fuel right at 40 to go, which means that not everybody is going to be planning on pitting right in the middle of that at 20 to go. But it is worth noting the race is now at a position where if we were to get a yellow, or depending on who makes that first call to pit road, is going to be able to go to the end of this race with one more full tank of Sunoco race fuel in the end of season 15 of this Super Speedway Cup Series. Actually relatively calm if you exclude Demergent, who's been very aggressive inside and out. Not a lot going on top 10 off of this restart.
No, not a lot at all. It's been incredibly silent, which is, I guess, part of the product from these guys doing exactly what they need to do. They're being calm, collected, and careful. That's how you get points in races.
Single file line trails all the way to 13th position, where Dan Harrington runs as the last car on the lead, or rather in this lead group, I apologize, at the moment. And then 14th position is 9.5 seconds back. That's Kyle Major, Travis Brown, Michael Cozy, Lucas Cram, and Brandon Cruz-Monsivais, their 18th position, and a couple of spots here on out till you get to 24th. But it is a long single file line up front. A couple of drivers towards the back have come down pit road and are in the window. You see another driver tucked to the inside of the line right there coming into pit road. That was Mike Thiel, who's going to be good to the end of this race on fuel as he pits at 20 laps to go. So up front, who's coming down when and who's coming down with who?
That's always the question. We're in that window now where we're going to have to see them all come down at some point very soon. But, well, there's about 3 or 4 laps, I say, to play for here. But I think we'll start to see cars coming down this lap coming.
Radio chatter has been quiet, which means that either everybody is scheming in their own channels on the radio and nobody really needs to make a plea publicly for help. Here we go, though. Drivers in. Spencer Preet didn't get the memo. He's not coming down pit road.
Reagan Jr. wrecking there coming onto pit road. That's a huge thing.
As well.
Yeah, Jason Altman's.
I think they both hang on. The 46 got tagged by the 57 of DeMerchant, who's going to get some damage. DeMerchant wasn't pitting. The 46 did a good job of saving it. It caused a lot of headaches on the pit road. But the big news is Seth DeMerchant stays out, and he's got some pretty significant left front damage. And he did not pit with the big group. He's out there with only 2-3 more cars. That's going to hurt him. But the question I have is he going to sit in the box to get the damage fixed, or would he rather race with it?
That's a tough call. I think with it being under green flag, he has to race with it and see what happens. But it cost him a lot. The car doesn't look bad, though. Merchant's got looks okay at the front, which is what's important. I guess he could be okay.
It was a very aggressive drive on the pit road. He passed to Spencer Preet onto the pit lane. He's going to be with Joseph Dawisha and as well, looks like Dan Harrington on the pit road. So that's a very small group of cars, though, for Seth DeMerchant to have to rely upon to be able to get to the end of this race, that he goes with no tires. So it was fuel only for the 57. He wins the race off of pit road, Rachel, but he wins the race off of pit road by a lot. He's all by himself now.
Yeah, he is, and that's the worst situation for him. He's going to really lose points and positions now, and this brings the likes, of course, of Wofford into a massive contention, and Piscini.
In the meantime, race lead has gone to Corey Smith. Smith is on a pit road now with Joseph Yukons, and see what the 57 DeMerchant blends out with traffic, though. Again, pitting a lap after everybody else did. The 72 of Preet and then Altman's. I think that because especially with the headaches we saw with that second group on the pit road with nearly a 3-car wreck, it basically was a wreck. Reagan, though, got straightened out just by hitting other cars, and it didn't end up bringing a yellow. DeMerchant's going to end up in front of Preet, and then also that secondary pack. But that secondary pack is going about 15 miles an hour quicker than he is. I know DeMerchant isn't fully up to speed yet, but you have to wonder when that group of 5 cars, Altman's, Evans, Monsivais, and Reagan and Levine, when they catch up to him, are they going to wait on DeMerchant, or are they just going to go for him?
I don't know. It's a very difficult decision to really see from this point, that these guys are in a spot where this really does break the race open. I mean, DeMerchant's caught up with Preet here, so he has someone to work with, and they're still in the top 10, so it's not over yet.
The race leaders coming with speed. The 57 is now, I think, good news, hooked back up with Spencer Preet. Preet did not have as quick as a pit stop as DeMerchant did, but I think all things considered, it was a clean pit stop, and for many guys, that's all you can ask for, given a lot of the times when you have a race like this where you do not come down pit road into green flag conditions at all until late in the race. You make mistakes and you can't get away with that. And DeMerchant and Preet, now that they're together, that's going to counteract a little bit of a speed and draft advantage, and I think they should be able to maintain the lead in this race, keeping in mind at the moment that's only P7. Still waiting for Kyle Major, Travis Brown, Michael Cozy, Lucas Cram, Joseph Gorange, and Robbie Lyons to pit. But right now, DeMerchant 7th will become the race leader as you see that second group now catch up to the back of him, and I don't think they have enough speed anymore to go right to the outside. Keep an eye on the 15 Voltmans. He might try something, but it is not a huge advantage.
It's not, but it's getting there, and it's definitely... Oh, look here, this Preet and Altman's going to go for something, but oh, getting very close here to... Oh, this is very dangerous. Oh, he's going to bump draft him. 51 gets right aggressively into the back there. of the Merchant, and I think he had to be terrified for his car there. Preet goes backwards on the outside as this big train catches him, and the speed overlap was huge. The Merchant wants to go past, as well, sorry, Altmans wants to go past here, and so does the car there of Bronze Vice, but this is a bit hairy for Seth the Merchant, I think. He's got a guy who's not in the chase who desperately wants to get past.
So I think that's a big win for Seth the Merchant, and now you just kind of feel like it's a matter of time, because in this exchange, Piscini and Watford have lost significant time. Yes, they're still in the same pack, but they're clawing from behind, and they need to beat, Seth. If you're talking about the difference up front, if you're to win this race, then you're only talking about Seth the Merchant having to finish about 5th or 6th. But again, because the points per position interval get closer outside of the top 5, you're going to have to beat the Merchant by at least 8-7 spots. Right now, you're trailing him by 8-7 spots. That's not going to get it done.
No, it's really not. And well, they're going to have to be very cautious of this, because a wreck here can take out a lot of our contenders. There's 3 of the top, well, the top 3, I should say, playoff drivers are in this thing, and almost getting a big shove by Preet there. Rager Jr., who's also been very hungry here, and look at this, putting level for the tri-oval, and almost looking like they want to go 3 or 4 wide. Not going to do it just yet, but this is a very hectic field at the front.
And all it takes is one mistake, and this thing gets broken wide open. We have seen side-by-side tonight, but it has been a lot of still side-by-side, if you will, where, yes, look at the 51. It's challenging for the race lead. That's great, but they haven't been able to make that pass for the race lead, and that's still a part of adjusting to this new draft model, which is a lot more accurate to what you'll see on Sunday nights with the NASCAR Cup Series, but it does have a downside, and that is a little bit more difficult getting that little bit extra. You can get to the bumper better, you can stick with somebody better, but it's difficult to break through. Preet doing his best to give Altmans a shove. They'll get half a car length. They'll get 3/4 of a car length. Can he get the race lead? Yes! The 51 of Altmans got it from Seth the Merchant. What a move.
He just did. Incredible move there, leaving the outside lane to lose a little bit of speed, but this puts the Merchant in the box of people now as Preet comes up the outside, and he's got to feel a little nervous almost as he has cars all around him here, and any mistake and he is done with this race as people get wobbly. Rager Jr. got a little sideways there. That was a heart-stopping moment.
46 machine getting really aggressive on a bumper. That's Reagan. He's pushing to Preet now. Preet knows it's possible. He just did a really big push, but I was impressed again. Altmans, a very aggressive slide over the nose of the Merchant, just showing, I think, Seth that, hey, he's raced people pretty hard tonight as the championship leader, and I think that, cordially, they're racing him pretty hard back. So that's, I think, fair game, all directions. But Michael Cozy Jr. is leading this race. Remember, the group we're following, P5 at the moment, because Cozy, Cram, Manger, and Brown still yet to come down pit road. Altmans leading the group, which will become the race lead, is still 5th at the moment. Those other guys I don't think are going to be able to make it by any stretch of the imagination. Let's keep that in mind, and we'll keep focus on this group here with our 4 cars who are still yet to pit. This is where it really matters, though.
No, it really does, but it's it's getting very, very busy. We're into the final 10 now, and a champion will be crowned in under 10 laps. This is it, the final push.
Last 9 laps, next time by in the entire season for the Superspeedway Cup Series Season 15 Championship. Do we get green to the end of this one? And is there going to be maybe one last late race plot twist that has major championship implications? It is, again, P5 right now for Altmans, P6 for the Merchant. That will become P2 for the Merchant, which would have put Wofford at about P6, Cassini at about P8. That would give Seth the Merchant a championship if the results at the moment hold.
Oh, absolutely. And, well, this is going to be a very, very hectic final run here. I'm personally excited, Evan. I don't know about you, but this is wide open. We could see a rookie win this race. We could see a veteran. We could see one of the playoff contenders win this thing. I have no idea right now. It's about to go 3 wide.
Meanwhile, in the group up front, Kyle Major has lost his touch with everybody. He just ran out of fuel. Lucas Cram has stayed out. Michael Cozy Jr. has come down pit road, so one step closer to those drivers cycling through the strategy and getting themselves back in line. Where obviously everybody will kind of sort themselves back out, but you know, do we see 3 wide? Because I feel like at this point, if you're Watford, if you're Piscini, you've got nothing to lose. You got to try something. I would much rather lose the championship, you know, with the 10th place finish because I tried to go 3-1 and it didn't work, than to lose the championship because I was running 5th and I was happy with running 5th and I didn't try to leave running 5th. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see what the 7 can do. He's 3rd in line on the outside of the racetrack. Piscini, a little bit more of a tricky scenario. 7th in line on the inside of the racetrack, but Watford is making some headway.
Yeah, really is, and he's definitely getting this one progressing forwards as, well, the field starts to pack up again and we get a bit of a progress on the outside. Preet goes forwards, will lead at the stripe, just. Gosh, this race is super exciting right now. That's Lucas Cram. What are we, no, it's not that, he was in pit road, so that's a false readout there. Spencer Preet is our leader, 3 wide there past the 22 machine of, I think that's Joey Piccolella. Once again, it's very hectic here.
The Cram came down pit road, was technically in front of these guys at the line, but that cycle to pit service is now going to be complete this time by, and it'll show either the 72 top side of Preet or the 51 of Oatmans on the inside of the racetrack as now actually being your race leaders. We've been talking about them like they were the race leaders this whole time. It was a battle for 5th and then 3rd. It is now the battle for 1st. And Holtmans doesn't even get a lap led. Preet just barely with the nose in front at the line. You don't have to clear the inside of the racetrack to win the race. You just have to do exactly that. Beat that car to the line. And next time by, 5 laps to go to do it.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm looking forward to seeing just how this one goes. But it's becoming a very, very, very busy situation there. It's hard to kind of really put this one into much context as now we go 3 wide with our lead group here. Rager Jr. up to the top will get shuffled back, I think. Trying to find a hole to get into it. He can't find one. He'll go back to the rear of this group here as this brings Preet further forwards along with Watford. Piscini at the back of his tail. Just behind the 14 of Vine there. Oh, those 2 guys will nearly go round. He goes off the track. Monster Vice went down. Oldman's lost it. They've both lost it sequentially and both will miss the inside wall, but no caution. Bit of breathing room for
Watford. Look at the 7.
Yeah.
57 almost got taken out. So did the 7. And Watford sees this as his opportunity. Big push topside. Ronnie Watford going to go to P2. He wants to challenge for the lead, but how far back to set the Merchant? Oh, contact with the 57. There goes the Merchant. Caution flag is gonna come. No, we're still green, and Seth the Merchant involved in an accident.
They're crashing in the front. They're crashing in the front too. Preet goes around 42. Watford.
He is not in it. Watford stays alive, and this race, I think, at the moment,
caution is out.
Caution is now out. And Rodney Watford, did he just win the championship?
I think he did.
What just happened?
Oh my gosh, we need to go back and check this out because I must say Watford is already heavily damaged, but my gosh, ladies and gentlemen, that just changed our race.
And I mean, we were already on the edge of the seat, but I mean, you want to talk about a wake-up call. It all started with really back at the start-finish line the lap prior. We see the 54 de Merchant get loose and the 51 of Oatmans at the same time. They both go into the grass, and we thought that was going to be the end of it, but it took all the drafting support away from Seth the Merchant. Ronnie Watford saw that, went topside, an aggressive push with Spencer Preet, took over 2nd, and de Merchant fell back to 4th. And then for the 57 machine, he's on the inside line, but he's running about 4 car lengths off of the inside line. So Chris Piscini's just trying to follow the cars in front of him. de Merchant's really crowding him. Minor contact.
He was trying to follow Preet. That's the problem.
And then Piscini spins, tags de Merchant. de Merchant wrecks. No caution. And then the 3 cars that survive come out of turn number 4. Watford gets into Preet. Somehow Watford, though, is the only of those 3 cars that doesn't wreck by like maybe half a foot. And he is barely clear to the line. And I think that Rodney Wofford just won himself a Superspeedway Cup Series championship. I can't promise you, because I still have no idea what happened, but we are going to pace to the end of this race.
Words escape me, Evan. I'm so struggling right now because this is a fantastic end to this thing. What a season ending. The 72 nearly got Wofford. I think he needs to look back at a replay and just look at just how close his demise was in this thing, because oh my gosh, that was the most tense I've seen. And with this looking like it, in fact, it will end under caution. We're inside the number, so wow, just wow. The Merchant having it ripped away from himself in the final moments of this thing, and what a conclusion.
And not that it, you know, makes, at least at this immediate moment, Seth the Merchant feel any better, but already a two-time champion in this series. You know, we've had many a conversation with the likes of Rod Flag, who even this year, again, makes it to the Championship 6 and isn't able to compete for the, you know, the trophy when it matters the most, isn't able to put those races together, and as somebody who has not had a championship ever get something ripped away. Not that, you know, DeMerchant's 2 previous championships make this feel any better at the moment, but Rodney Wofford was that close in search of his first championship. Obviously, with all of the contact that happened, race control is going to have to look over everything that happened, so everything is going to be unofficial, and that's why I'm not going to say anything conclusively. But Wofford right now is your leader. Piscini right now is running in 5th. Chris Piscini did have about a 4-point advantage on Wofford after we factored in bonus points, but the difference between 1st and 5th on track is a total of 14 points under this point structure. So that would imply the 7 has the upper hand there, and Seth the Merchant is currently running in 18th position. Rather, he's not running in 18th position. That car, again, with no quick repairs, is done, and it's sitting stationary in the box. So just scanning top to bottom the way things work at the moment would imply that Rodney Wofford will be your champion based on the rough math. But again, I can't promise you what, if anything, will come from the standard post-race review, Rachel. Anytime a yellow flag ends the race, it's immediately reviewed, and we see that whenever it happens on a week-by-week basis. But especially tonight, I have no doubt that race control will take some extra time looking things over to make sure they get a call. If they make a call, you get that call correct.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to hearing from Rod about what this one goes through like, and it was incredible. Really, really incredible how these guys made this thing work.
We're on the white flag, by the way. The white flag's in the air at Daytona. Working lap number 100. Again, lights on top of the pace car. We are not going to go back green. Wofford, Reagan Jr., Bartlett, Yukons, and Piscini. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 at the moment, barring any sort of catastrophic issue for the 7. That car does have damage. I don't think damage enough to the point where he wouldn't be able to hit these, you know, this next lap and a half. I'm not sure that car would be able to compete if we had a green flag restart. So I think the fact that we're pacing to the end plays in favor of the 7 around New Wofford. But never say never, especially considering what just happened 3 laps ago. Wow. All I can say is wow still.
These things just change in a heartbeat. It's that simple. It's just, they change so quickly. It's incredible. This is motor racing, guys. This is sim racing. This is what we do this for, because this stuff is amazing.
And you talk about how unpredictable super speedway racing is on a weekly basis, how unpredictable this playoff has been on a week-by-week basis, and really tonight at Daytona, how unpredictable this race has been on a lap-by-lap, minute-by-minute basis. But here we come, final time at a quarter number 4 for Rodney Wofford, who is going to collect the checkered flag tonight from Daytona International Speedway. If this holds, what will be a record 24th win in this series, the most all-time of all drivers ever, and that makes him not only the most winning driver, but the most winning driver by far and large to not be a champion in this series. That may no longer be a statistic we can use.
Yeah, absolutely. And this season just keeps on surprising me. This series is amazing. And I gotta say, just to throw a little dash of controversy in there, aren't people going to be curious that it was Chris Bassini, Rodney Wofford's teammate, that dumped the points leader? Not his fault, admittedly, but the champion's teammate was the one that caused the final accident, which took out the leader.
Cruise Control made it out earlier in the night that they would be keeping an extra eye on those things, and I think that'll most definitely be a factor in what happens. Not that you could penalize Rodney Wofford for that.
No, but
you know, you can penalize the one all you want, but you can't give, you know, DeMerchant back spots. I think at the end of the day, it was a racing incident because Seth was tracing the cars in front of him, desperately trying to get a draft, and really wasn't paying all that much attention to the one. Again, he was on the inside of 2 lanes, but he was up running like he was in the top. Everybody was all kinds of, you know, out of order, but Rodney Wofford is going to celebrate what may be win number 24 and what may be championship number 1. The math says yes. We wait for the official word to come from the tower, and it has yet to do so. So don't go anywhere as we take this opportunity for one final time on 2017 to step aside and go LSRTV nonstop. And when we come back, hopefully, we'll have a name on a trophy. You're watching LSRTV's continuing coverage of the Superspeedway Cup Series on your home for sim racing and iRacing Live, the championship presentation when we come back to Daytona International Speedway. This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSRTV, and it may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Live Sim Racing LLC and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. LSRTV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. Well, welcome back live to the Daytona International Speedway as the 15th season of the Superspeedway Cup Series has drawn to a close. And we do have official word on the championship picture. I will hold you for one more moment, because first let's take a look top to bottom at your LSRTV full race results. Rodney Wofford gets the win, a record 24th in the Superspeedway Cup Series. Richard Reagan Jr. comes home second tonight. Victor Martin III, we hope to get a word with all of them in a moment, along with Joseph Yukons, who comes home fourth tonight. Chris Piscini, who comes home at fifth. Corey Smith ends up sixth at the end of the night, seventh position to Ramon Evans, 8th to Brandon Cruz Monsivais, P9 for Ricky Wall, and 10th is Dan Harrington.
Joseph Darwish comes home in 11th place with Lucas Crammond 12th. Michael Cosi Jr. unfortunately back in 13th place. Rod Flagg 14th with Travis Brown in 15th. Kyle Manger, Jason Altmans, Mike Schultz, Joseph Gorringe, and Robbie Lyons, your top 20.
Death the Merchant ends up 21st position after being 4 laps away from a third Superspeedway Cup Series championship. Joey Piccolella at 22nd behind him. Spencer Preet is 23rd with Justin Levine 24th and Raymond Lees in 25th. Scott Warren, Glenn Hedrick, John Johnson, Gary Champ, and Mike Thiel through 30th.
31st is Chris Patton with Jimmy Coleman in the 32nd spot. Kevin Spencer 33rd, and Ray Ritner second comes home in the 34th place.
And at the end of the evening, we have the official championship points in our hands, and to accompany that series best 24 wins, Rodney Wofford can now call himself a champion in the Superspeedway Cup Series by 11 points over Chris Piscini. Rodney Wofford is your Season 15 Superspeedway Cup Series champion. He defeats Chris Piscini by 11 points, along with Seth the Merchant, who comes home 16 points back in third. Michael Cosi Jr., 36 points back, fourth overall in the standings. Rod Flagg is fifth this season in the points, and Brandon Cruz Monsivais is P6. And as always, we will turn the microphone over to Rod Flagg to present the hardware to a first-time champion, Rodney Wofford.
Thank you, Evan. And season 15 is finally complete. We had a great season. I want to thank LSRTV. I want to thank Cisco. I want to thank Evan. I want to thank everybody on the LSRTV team for bringing and broadcasting such a great season once again. But the best news tonight is that we are crowning the season 15 champion. And as a fellow former champion, I am so excited to announce this right now. The guy I'm about to introduce is raced with our league since day one. He's been there. He's raced through pain. Things again. I know the guy on a personal basis. It's the guy is finished second in this championship way too many times, considering how many races he's actually won, and the fact that he's come in here and won the finale in Florida 400 in its 15th season of the league, and in the 200th race is fitting, and the fact that he's going to win the championship tonight is bar none one of the coolest things I've had a chance to do is league administrator. So without a doubt, I want to announce that Rodney Wofford, number 7, is the Superspeedway Cup champion for season 15, and wow, congratulations, Rodney.
Thank you, Rod. I'm speechless now.
We were in the same boat as you there at the end. I'll tell you what, though, you guys, the win here tonight. First, I want to point out that I'm sure it's a statistic that you like keeping up with. Your 24th career win in this series is the most out of all drivers, and I think that it takes a lot of rotten luck to win 24 races and to not get one championship. So the way that this one ended, I think, was the universe in some way righting a wrong, and you finally get the good luck on your side and when it mattered the most, and you are a champion of the Superspeedway Cup Series. You've barely had a minute to think about it, but what's going through your head?
I don't know, man. I'm utterly speechless now, Evan. You know, the struggle has been real, brother. You know that. And to go out, win last week, come in here with no doubt of winning this thing, then halfway through the race, finally picking it up and running it there and making a run there, and now winning this race and being a champion, it's awesome. It's a huge relief. It's 15 seasons, 24 wins. Dude, it's the best feeling. It's a huge monkey off my back. I can say I finally won a championship.
Coming into this one, you know, you've had to race for this thing in different, you know, against different drivers, in different playoff formats, in, you know, different cars and such, and you've done it all, and you've been so close so many times. Did anything feel different about this one, or did maybe the fact that you guys had been here for so long and not been able to get the job done in a way kind of lifted the pressure, because you're almost waiting for something, you know, to go wrong, that you guys come out, you do what you expect to happen, and then when it goes right, you kind of weren't psyching yourself out? Or how did you feel not only tonight but throughout these last 3 races?
Other races, I was way more concerned. Tonight, I didn't have any concerns. I've been here 15 times, a lot of times, didn't care, had a huge gap, wanted to race, wanted to get the win, wanted to have fun. When I started caring and worrying was the pace laps, the confirmation that I got it. That was the most worrisome I had all night. Other than that, man, I was out there racing, helping here at the crew, just trying to do everything I could.
It is a championship, but I'm sure that it is one that you are going to cherish for some time. The beauty and the bad thing about it is, you know, oftentimes you get a championship, you kind of get the basket for the offseason. The offseason and these things aren't too long. That's been a good thing for you in recent times, because you come home second and that fire can carry you right into the next year. These guys are not going to let you sit and just kind of hang out with your trophy uncontested for long, because we get right back at this thing on the other side of the new year. But I want you to enjoy this one, and we will let you take off so you guys can go and hang out with friends and enjoy it. But Rodney, we've asked you this so many times from victory lane, and we finally get to ask it to you for the top of the championship stage. The sponsors and the shout-outs, who has made all of this possible to make you a champion.
I got to give a huge shout out to you, Evan. You know, you do an awesome job. Everybody here at LSRTV, you guys are awesome. You guys rock. Got to give Rod a huge shout out, putting up with me this long, doing this long, and still going on in the future. Tonight, it means a lot. When I was doing those donuts, I got to give Hanner, Bud, hey, we put the Miller Lite, we put your car in victory lane tonight. We won the 200th race. We won the championship. It's done. I got to give everybody watching a huge thanks. Thank you guys, all fans, family. I love you all. Y'all are awesome. I got to give the huge thanks to Chris Bassini and his wife. They're amazing people. I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. You guys mean a lot. And whew, it's over. Woo!
We'll let you get out of here, Rodney. Cisco will not let you go until you answer our kind of trademark question here. Whenever somebody wins a championship on LSRTV, I can't even remember how this started, but it is tradition for us, and we're happy to include you in on the tradition. We always ask our series champions what their favorite sandwich is, so we pose the question to you.
Oh man, I have no clue right now. I could go for like a Cajun turkey with pepper jack cheese right now. I tell you that sounds really good right now.
You're the champion. You could have whatever one you want, Rodney. We appreciate the time. We've appreciated the time very often because you do this winning thing a lot. But congratulations on the win. Congratulations on the championship. For your sake, hopefully the first of many. But go enjoy this one.
Thank you, bud. Thank you, Evan. Thank you, guys.
The race winner tonight and season 15 champion of the Superspeedway Cup Series, Rodney Wofford, getting the job done here tonight late when this one mattered the most. And, you know, Rachel, that's how things go. Crazy finishes. And how about on top of all of that excitement, a fantastic result tonight for Richard Reagan Jr., who you're trackside with, who came home in second tonight.
I am indeed, Evan. Thank you very much. Richard Reagan Jr. here. Second place tonight has to be a massive relief for you as a rookie. Confirmation of your ability in this series and a fantastic run.
Yeah, I've had a few tough races going on the past few weeks. I don't really have many teammates out there to help push me around. I always get left behind a lot, but it feels good to get another top 5. And hopefully this makes a statement that next season I will be a serious contender for the championship.
It certainly does. Well, congratulations, Richard Reagan Jr. Who makes it work for you guys in the 46?
I gotta thank my sponsors, Out of Ruin, Sim Racing Giveaways, F1 Sim Games, you guys at LSRTV, all my teammates at Gen X Racing. I gotta thank Corey Smith, my teammate, and Joseph Youngkins, my other teammate. Also want to give a shout out to Rodney Wofford for winning the championship. Congratulations, you earned it, man.
There you hear it, Evan. Richard Reagan Jr. second place, and a confirmation that next season he's coming for them.
He had a fantastic run tonight, especially, but really picking it up towards the end of the season. Congrats to Richard on the good end of this one. And not only him, but we had a lot of new faces this year. And we talked a good bit about them. You know, a tip of the cap to Michael Cozy Jr. for being the top finishing rookie, only of the rookies, to make it into that championship 6. But there were a lot of new faces here tonight making their first start in the Superspeedway Cup Series, coming over from the DXT side of things. And there's no doubt that if these guys are competing on a full-time basis starting in January, that it will be an exciting season 16 of the Superspeedway Cup Series. But not to get too far ahead of ourselves, because Rodney Wofford, Rachel, again, 24 career wins now. It has been a disservice to that kind of a week-in, week-out performance for him not to get a win, and you feel so bad for Seth the Merchant, who has gotten the results, a 2-time champion, a fantastic driver in this series, who has found very much a lot of success. And, you know, you're absolutely gutted for what happened with that team after he ends up with a 21st place finish at the end of the night. But it's hard not to feel good with Rodney Wofford with his name on the championship trophy.
Yeah, certainly. It's a tough position for him to be in, but at the same time, these things happen in motor racing. He'll have next season, he'll come back stronger, and I'm looking forward to seeing just that.
And for the final time this year, well, that wraps things up here from the Daytona International Speedway. Again, we still got live sim racing coverage for you here on LSRTV this week. As always, we close things out tomorrow night, Saturday evening, with the United Sim Racing BNC Lana Landscaping Truck Series. You can find our full schedule on our website, which is www.livesimracing.com. And you can also stay up to date with us on social media by following us on Twitter at LSRTV. And if I like it, us on Facebook at facebook.com/LSRTV official. The Superspeedway Cup Series, though, is coming back soon, and you can also stay up to date with them by following them on Twitter at SuperspeedwayCS. You can also like them on Facebook by searching Superspeedway Cup Series. But if you want to know the schedule for next year, if you want to get on track for next year, go to superspeedwaycup.com for more information. But for the final time this year, on behalf of our entire team at Live Sim Racing LLC, the folks behind the scenes, DJ Lyon, Laura Lawson, the people who make it happen topside in the booth night in and night out, and the people who are going to continue to make it happen in the booth night in and night out as the Superspeedway Cup Series continues at LSRTV. And for your broadcast team tonight, for myself, Evan Pasoko, Rachel Whiteford, and our producer, Cisco Scaramuza, a congratulations on behalf of everybody at LSRTV to Rodney Wofford, who is your Season 15 Superspeedway Cup Series champion. The title defense begins in a couple of weeks' time when the Superspeedway Cup Series returns to LSRTV, your home for sim racing at the start of January. But for the final time for us on a Friday night, until then, have a very happy holidays, a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year, and we will see you next time.